Ria TV, True FM.
Okay, Ria TV, True FM.
On Ria TV,
True FM.
Well, thanks for rejoining us. The news program is powered by Orange Liberia and EcoBank Liberia Limited. At this point, we cross over now to Nakita Roberts for the news bulletin.
President Joseph Boakai has departed the country to attend the 50th anniversary celebration of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, being held in Accra, Ghana. The executive mansion says President Boakai's participation in this milestone summit highlights Liberia's steadfast commitment to regional unity, peace, democratic governance, and economic empowerment. The ECOWAS Golden Jubilee provides an opportunity for leaders across West Africa to reflect some 5 decades of regional cooperation and to strengthen collective efforts in addressing emerging challenges. The president is accompanied by an official delegation that includes Foreign Minister Sarah Beslow Yanti, Minister of State with our portfolio Mamaka Ability, National Security Advisor Anthony Samuel Kofi Woods, Economic Advisor to the President Molly Kamara, Anthony Myers, Deputy Finance Minister for Fiscal Affairs, among others. While President Boakai is away, Minister of State Minister of State for Presidential Affairs, Sylvester Gretzky, will chair the cabinet in consultation with Vice President Jeremiah Kuhn and the President via telephone, ensuring the continuous and effective functioning of the executive branch. During the summit, President Boakai is expected to engage in high-level discussions with fellow heads of state and government on issues including regional stability, democratic governance, and deeper economic integration. The release added that the president will also hold bilateral meetings aimed at advancing Liberia's strategic interests within the West African sub-region. Meanwhile, President Joseph Boakai has expressed profound sorrow over the death of Pope Francis in the early hours of Easter, Monday, April 21st. President Joseph Boakai, on behalf of the government and people of Liberia, extended deeper condolences to the Catholic Church, the Holy See, and the global Catholic community during this time of mourning. He said Pope Francis was a beacon of humility, compassion, and unwavering commitment to the marginalized. According to the Liberian president, Pope Francis' life was marked by a relentless pursuit of peace, social justice, environmental stewardship, and interfaith dialogue, championing the cause of the poor, advocating for the protection of the planet, and working tirelessly to bridge division among people of different faiths and backgrounds. The Liberia Drug Enforcement Agency has arrested a man aged 35 with a consignment of marijuana valued over $295,000 United States dollars in Painesville. The suspect, Dominic Malou, a resident of the Basseltown community in Painesville, was arrested on credible intelligence received on April 19, 2025, according to an LDEA press release. With his consent, a thorough search was conducted in his place of operation, resulting in the discovery of 100 compressed plates of marijuana, 13 uncompressed marijuana, and 454 processed compressed marijuana. Preliminary findings suggest that the case is part of a larger network of transnational organized crimes engaged in the trafficking and distribution of illegal narcotics within and beyond Liberia's border. The LDA said it is currently deepening its investigation to uncover potential links to regional and international criminal drug networks. Suspect Dominic Malou is currently in LDEA custody at a headquarters pending further investigation, formal charges, and subsequent prosecution. The release quotes the LDEA as saying it remains steadfast in its mission to combat illegal drug trafficking, disrupt transnational criminal operations, and ensure public safety across Liberia. Following weeks of campaign activities, People in Nimba County are going to the poll this Tuesday to elect a new senator. The Nimba senatorial by-election follows the death of long-serving Senator Prince Johnson in November last year. The National Election Commission says a total of 307,254 registered voters are expected to participate in the Nimba by-election. The Commission's chairperson, David Etta Brown Lassana, disclosed that there are 262 voting precincts and 736 polling places in Nimba for the successful conduct of the by-election. The NEC boss over the weekend called on Nimayans to turn up in their numbers on Tuesday to cast their votes for a leader of their choice, hereby calling on them to remain peaceful during the voting process. Meanwhile, the commission says it has deployed election materials across Nimba County and all is now set for the conduct of the senatorial by-election on Tuesday to fill the vacancy created by the death of the late Senator Prince Johnson. The Liberia National Bar Association has warned against any acts of lawlessness and threatened to recommend sanctions against individuals who will instigate violence in the Nimba County by-election. The Vice President, Councillor Bono Varma, termed as grave threat to Liberia's democratic gains and national stability any attempt to destabilize the peace as Nimayans goes to the poll tomorrow. Speaking at a press briefing on Monday in Monrovia, Councillor Bono Varman cautioned those he called anti-democratic elements to refrain from interfering with the election process, noting that the people of Nimba should be allowed to freely exercise their democratic rights, void of conflict and intimidation. He further urged all political actors and their supporters to conduct themselves in a peaceful manner this Tuesday as they go to the polls in line with the Constitution. Councillor Varma, among other things, underscored limited civic and voter education, logistical and administrative support as factors that might undermine public confidence in the process. A delegation from the Liberia National Police, headed by Inspector General Gregory Comer, has arrived in Nimba County ahead of the voting process this Tuesday. Speaking to journalists on Monday in the county, R.G. Comer said the huge presence of police officers in Nimba is to give voters the confidence and safety to enable them vote freely. The police inspector general noted that the presence is to also remind those who are thinking about causing chaos that there is no room for violence, stating that they are aware of individuals who have migrated to Nimba to cause chaos, aimed at tarnishing the reputation of Nimayans. Councillor Comer clarified that their role in Nimba is to protect democracy so everyone can have the platform to exercise their constitutional rights, noting that the police will never undermine or get involved with anything political. IG Comer called on residents of Nimba to report issues of police getting politically involved in the Nimba senatorial by-election, stating that decisive actions will be taken against such individuals. The Monrovia City Court has denied suspect Othello Boo's request for bail as provided by law. This follows defense lawyer James Cummins' application to the court to admit his client on bail consistent with Chapter 13, Section 13.1 of the Criminal Procedural Law of Liberia. But Magistrate Ben Barcos Monday rejected suspect Boo's chance for bail, saying the alleged crime is punishable by death, by hanging, or by life imprisonment in the respondent country, which is the United States of America. As such, he cannot be granted bail consistent with law. Defense lawyer Councillor James Cummins took exception of Magistrate Barco's decision, saying he would take advantage of the law controlling. Our judicial correspondent says suspect Othello Boo's lawyer application to the court comes at a time prosecuting lawyer led by Solicitor General Councillor Augustine Fayad is making significant progress at the Monrovia City Court to ensure that suspect Booth be extradited to the United States of America to face criminal prosecution. Suspect Booth is accused of allegedly raping his 16-year-old daughter in the United States, but later escaped to avoid prosecution. The chairman emeritus of the Movement for Economic Empowerment is calling on the Mayans to remain peaceful in the conduct of Tuesday's senatorial by-election. James Brooks, in an interview with the station on Monday, cautioned voters in Nimba not to allow the by-election divide them, stating that the peace of Nimba County and the country at large should remain a top priority. Brooks called on the Mayans to accept the outcome of the April 22nd senatorial by-election in good faith and refrain from violence or other things that could cause chaos. Lawyers representing victim Jumia Cashel have taken flight to Criminal Court A to challenge Magistrate Ben Barco's decision to deny their video evidence. Magistrate Barcos has since rejected victim Cashel's video proof on grounds that the evidence in question lacked legal credibility and warrant departure as provided by law. Councillor Mariah Kopo on Monday ran to Criminal Court A resident Judge Roosevelt Willie with a petition for summary proceedings against Magistrate Ben Barco. Councillor Kopo's request to the court, among other things, claimed that the presiding magistrate was in error to have rejected their video evidence. Our judicial correspondent said the intent of victim Cashel's lawyer request to the court is to overturn Magistrate Barco's decision because they see the video evidence as crucial for them to establish a prima facie case against defendant Kindness Wilson at the Monrovia City Court. On April 8, 2025, defendant Kindness Wilson responded to a criminal raid with a not guilty plea to shift the burden of proof on prosecuting lawyers. The Liberia Intellectual Property Office, in collaboration with the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, is expected to hold a one-day high-level intellectual property conference in Monrovia on Wednesday, the 23rd of April. LIPO Director General Garment Kobe disclosed that the conference is part of activities marking the observance of World International Property Day scheduled for April 26, 2025. Speaking during a media engagement in Monrovia on Monday, Madam Kobe added that this high-level conference will be held under the theme, The Role of Intellectual Property in the Creative Sector in Achieving the Arrest Agenda. The former president of the Liberia Council of Churches has made a passionate appeal to the Supreme Court to deliver a simple ruling in the Bill of Information so as to finally resolve the crisis in the House of Representatives. Bishop Carter Brown said the whole nation is looking up to the Supreme Court to explain its ruling on Wednesday in order to avoid the interpretation of its decision by lawyers to suit their respective sides in the crisis. Speaking in an interview with reporters in Broadville outside Monrovia on Monday, Bishop Brown also cautioned members of the majority and minority blocs to be responsible enough to and be prepared to resolve the stalemate at the lower house. Residents of Foreman and Sanoye in District 7, Bon County, are calling on Representative Foley Family to continue advocating for better living standards for the people. The residents praised the District 7 lawmaker for his lobbying efforts that they said is bringing development across the districts. According to them, Representative Foley Family has been one of the vocal lawmakers in the House of Representatives seeking the interests of his people. Making remarks during the presentation of the first district report, the residents appreciated the representative for what they described as an open and inclusive leadership that has been felt across Foreman and Sanoye. They also outlined his efforts in healthcare, education, infrastructure, and rural rehabilitation, youth empowerment, making significant reference to his advocacy that led to China Union compliance with Section 13.1 of the Mineral Development Agreement, leading to the provision of 30,000 United States dollars for scholarships. The National Executive Committee of the Liberia People Democratic Party adopted a 3-count resolution that's restructuring the leadership of the LPDP with Senator Ellis Tyler as political leader. The resolution also named former Representative Mose Colley as national chairman and the Wahin national vice chairman for inter-party affairs. Addressing a press conference on Monday in Monrovia, the national vice chairman for public affairs, George Woto, added that the National Executive Committee also named Joseph Wai as national vice chairman for Mobilization, Recruitment and Training, and Snotty Wilson, chairman, as national chairman for the Women League. And out of Liberia now, the Vatican has announced that Pope Francis, the first Latin American pontiff, was known for his efforts to modernize and reform the Roman Catholic Church, has died at age 88. The Pope's death comes a day after he greeted and blessed Easter crowds, a week after an extended hospital stay for pneumonia. He taught us to live the values of the gospel with fidelity, that's courage and universal love, the Vatican said. Pope Francis' funeral will be held after his body lies in state in St. Peter's Basilica during a 9-day mourning period. During that time, cardinals will prepare to choose the next pontiff. That's RCN News Bulletin. Is back to Marka Davis.
Ria TV, True FM.
Okay, Ria TV, True FM.
On Ria TV,
into Truth FM 96.1.
What's the meaning of the black barrier?
The black barrier is to tell Joseph Boakai if you don't organize yourself in a grateful manner, we'll keep your paper like
You might say what you want to say, but for us, we are here to make sure we build our country, that we are respected. We have donors that are coming because of the confidence.
News Summary of 12. My name is Hansen Der Represent. Welcome to News and Analysis 30 minutes of news presentation about Liberia, Africa, and our one world. Presenting this newscast is proudly sponsored by Orange Liberia and EcoBank Liberia Limited.
How is life?
Thus, you are listening to 45 minutes of news from Liberia, Africa, and the rest of the world. One of the top stories we are following tonight: President Joseph Boakai departs the country to attend the 50th anniversary celebration of ECOWAS in Accra, Ghana, as the president expresses profound sorrow over the death of Pope Francis on early Monday morning. To our first development, following weeks of campaign activities, people in Nemba County are going to the polls this Tuesday to elect a new senator. The Nemba senatorial by-election follows the death of long-serving Senator Prince Johnson in November last year. The National Elections Commission says a total of 307,254 registered voters are expected to participate in the by-election in Nemba County. The Commission's chairperson, Deviata Brand Lassanan, disclosed that there are 262 voting precincts and 736 polling places in Nemba for the successful conduct of the election. She spoke to the media during the weekend.
On Tuesday, the 22nd of April 2025, the National Elections Commission will conduct the senatorial by-election in Nemba County from 18 a.m. to 6 p.m. A total of 307,254 registered Liberian voters across Nemba County will go to the polls to exercise their right to vote for a senator in the county on the 22nd of April 2025. There are also 262 voting precincts and 736 polling places in Nemba County. At this point in time, I am calling on our mothers, fathers, sisters, and brothers who are registered voters in Nemba County to turn out in your numbers, to go to the place where you registered and vote on Tuesday, 22nd of April in the senatorial by-election in Nemba County. All registered voters are permitted to vote only one time using a valid voter registration card at the center where they are registered. In other words, vote where you register. The voters of Nemba, please note that without a valid voter registration card, you will not be allowed to vote on election day, 22nd April 2025.
Well, she's the chairperson of the National Elections Commission, Madam Deviata Brown Lassana, there speaking over the weekend. Meanwhile, the Liberian National Bar Association has warned against acts of lawlessness and threatening to recommend sanctions against individuals who will instigate violence in the Nimba County Bar election. The bar's president, Councillor Bonavama, termed as grave threat to Liberia's democratic gains and national stability any attempt to destabilize the peace as Nimbayans go to the polls tomorrow. Speaking at a press conference Monday in Monrovia, Councillor Bonavama cautioned those he called anti-democratic elements to refrain from interfering with the election process, noting that the people of Nimba should be allowed to freely exercise their democratic rights, void of conflict and intimidations.
Cautions all anti-democratic elements, whether acting directly or indirectly, to refrain from interfering with ongoing democratic process in Nimba County. The bar emphasizes that the people of Nimba must be allowed to freely exercise their democratic and civil responsibilities without the infusion of conflict, intimidation, or coercion. The LB expresses that any attempt to subject the will of the people or to destabilize the peace and security of the country constitutes a grave threat to Liberia's democratic gains and national stability. As such, the bar will not hesitate to recommend appropriate sanctions, both domestically and internationally, against individuals or groups found to be undermining the democratic process or promoting instability. The LMB is closely monitoring developments in Nimba and calls on all political actors, community leaders, and citizens to uphold the rule of law, maintain peace, and respect the constitutional rights of all elected voters in Nimba County. The Liberian National Bar Association remains committed to the preservation of democracy, the rule of law, and lasting peace in Liberia. We affirm our commitment to promoting the rule of law and stand ready to support efforts that ensure a free, fair, and peaceful elections in Nimba County.
He is the president of the Liberian National Bar Association, Councillor Bonavama, there speaking meanwhile to ensure a peaceful atmosphere during the election. A delegation from the Liberian National Police, headed by Inspector General Gregory Coleman, has arrived in Nimba County ahead of voting on Tuesday. Speaking to journalists in the county, RG Gregory Coleman said the huge presence of police officers in Nimba is to give voters the confidence and safety to enable them to vote freely.
This process is broad of uniform intervention and people to just ensure that you really do want to live freely and fear or intimidation with any sympathy. We've done some great work with analyzing past elections, looking at what we do as we have traveling over the years, and taking measures and taking to ensure that because everything elections we can have how we perform, what we do, what we didn't do, and all the corrections. So now this level is where the most reform to put in here because we now have that it was 5 elections. So we have a short last point of and let's bring the people that have nothing to do with the elections of women. And my group here to first cover the basic issues of now and violence on the mountain of women, which is not represented for the people of Lake. We are well of the work of women. These elections for the people of Women, represented in this country.
Well, he's the Inspector General of Police, Gregory Coleman, there speaking as head of a police delegation in Nimba County to monitor the Tuesday by-election. The former president of the Liberia Council of Churches has made a passionate appeal to the Supreme Court to deliver a simple ruling in the Bill of Information so as to finally resolve the crisis in the House of Representatives. Bishop Cotto Brown said the whole nation is looking up to the Supreme Court to explain its ruling on Wednesday in order to avoid the interpretation of its decision by lawyers to suit their respective sides in the crisis. Speaking in an interview with reporters in Burrillville outside Monrovia on Monday, Bishop Brown also cautioned members of the majority and minority blocs to be responsible enough and be prepared to resolve the stalemate at the lower house.
Be responsible. It's like you are a father, you have a conflict in your house. First and foremost, you must show the willingness to want to see that conflict resolved. I even think that the government could have done more to resolve this issue. I don't run away from that. And that the Supreme Court could have been much more clear. When you said that over again, right now, what we want is for the issue to be resolved. We're hoping that our leaders can rise up. Let's put this behind us. It doesn't look like that people until they laugh at us. And we have two speakers. I believe that if all the actors wanted this to be resolved, we can get it done. We all agree and anticipate that the Supreme Court will be clearer, so that we don't go back and arguing over what they said, and that the lawyers who are the agents of the court will help us properly interpret Supreme Court opinion, ruling, or whatever it is. The last ruling of our some lawyers said that it meant that Onapi Kopa was had the benefit of the law. Some lawyers said no, it meant that the majority black was not here. So we expect that on this Wednesday, April 23rd, so the Supreme Court will make a ruling that is clear. That's our appeal. That's our appeal. All of us, including the Supreme Court, we have responsibility to keep the peace, to keep the peace stable. And what we say, and the measure to which we say it is also critical towards that. The people know that the Constitution says every time we have a constitutional issue, Supreme Court interprets. We appeal to the Supreme Court. Make the interpretation clear. Maybe this time much clearer. So every Liberian will understand.
He is the former president of the Liberia Council of Churches, Bishop Kotu Brown, there speaking. Well, Bond County District 7 representative for the family has presented his first district report to the people of Fuama and Sanoye. He presented the district report over the weekend in the presence of hundreds of residents of the district. Johnson Matoma attended the ceremony and filed in this report.
The report presented by Bond County District 7 representative covered the period January to December 2024. Representative for the family presented the district report over the weekend at a well-attended ceremony in Henrytown, the district seat of Fama and Sanoye District, in line with Article 15 of the 1986 Constitution. Here is Hamida Giddens, Commissioner of Fama, during the traditional ceremony.
All of you have come from far and near. Like we have people that came from way Lola Plan, DK, Slow Plan, Jawayon, Jawakomo, and that of Plan. We want to say, you are all welcome here.
Presenting his report, representative for the family online, healthcare, education, youth empowerment, rural rehabilitations, among others, at priority areas, says His Excellency, the House Committee Chair on Investments and Construction, noted that China Union, complying with the Mineral Development Agreement for $30,000 United States for scholarship, is one of the greatest concerns over the years, terming it as an achievement. He further reviewed the provision of 30 motorbikes for youth empowerment and launched the medical outreach as some major steps taken to better the lives of the residents, disclosing Henry Morning Town Hall that is currently on construction.
In the next few years, we'll be speaking of a road that is well rehabilitated on the southern side of the bridge there, and we'll be talking that in the next few years, before you come to see a modern town hall built in Henrytown, the commissioner of that will be able to take all of us. One of the things we said during campaign was that if for failure of that campaign promise, that when we win, once we went to the motorcyclist program, we provide full empowerment to motorcyclists in our district of not less than 30 motorbikes. If fulfillment of that promise, I purchased over 30 motorbikes and take over the motorcyclists free of charge. That was another way of our system.
Representative for the family also alarmed over the issue of illicit drugs and call for collective efforts to combat the abuse in the district.
So the issue of drugs is everyone concerned. The family of the DA will need to upend it and ensure that they fight drugs in our people. And we ourselves need to fight drugs. We know drugs don't let you come in and not the people children are going for. Our own children can't pollute them. What we can say that the drugs don't lay there is for our children and we're not calling police. So we helping them to implement a bad goal.
The district setting was an interactive dialogue where residents were given the chance to ask questions to play their doubts. Here are voices of residents speaking during the program.
But I was saying that I are talking about I'm taking concern about Donald Trump. Concern about the crossing point and the clinic. And this is our problem that we are facing. And we know you're going that there. If you say the clinic, you're the one who renovate that clinic. We say thank you to the family. We just have few issues. Oh, begging you for our family. So they will get you come here. We will be allowed asking and
the district sitting has been described as one of the peaceful ceremonies in recent times, as most district report events are usually disrupted for the historical town of Hending in District Saribon County. I'm John C. Bantoma.
Well, Johnson Batoma with that report from Fuama in District 7, Bon County. If you're just joining us, the top stories we're following tonight: President Joseph Boakai departs the country to attend the 50th anniversary celebration of ECOWAS in Accra, Ghana, as the president expresses profound sorrow over the death of Pope Francis on early Monday. Ahead of voting tomorrow in Nemba County, Liberian National Bar Association warns against acts of lawlessness and threatening to recommend sanctions against individuals who will instigate violence in the county. Liberia Drug Enforcement Agency arrests man aged 35 with a consignment of marijuana valued over $295,000 United States dollars in Painesville. And of the home front, the Vatican announces the death of Pope Francis at age 88 as tributes pour in from world leaders. Let's take a short break to be right back.
Ria TV, True FM.
Okay, Ria TV, True FM.
On Ria TV.
Into Truth FM 96.1.
What's the meaning of the black barrier?
The black barrier is to tell Joseph Boakai you don't organize it.
This story just coming in says the Alternative National Congress is deeply troubled over credible reports indicating that qualified and officially accepted contractors of the National Elections Commission have been abruptly replaced in Nemba County ahead of the crucial senatorial by-election. The ANC says it has received alarming information suggesting that these contractors, who were previously vetted, trained, and approved through standard NEC procedures, have been removed and substituted with individuals alleged to be loyal supporters of Representative Samuel Koga, a candidate in the ongoing by-election. In a statement released by the ANC, it says this interference in the electoral process threatens the integrity and fairness of the upcoming by-election and places the party's candidate, Edith Gonglowe, who stands, according to them, a better chance at a disadvantage. The ANC stated, according to the Alternative National Congress, replacing neutral and trained NEC personnel with political loyalists not only undermines the independence of the commission, but also raises serious concerns about voter manipulation and election credibility in the Nemba by-election. But the National Elections Commission is yet to make comments concerning this report. The chairman emeritus of the Movement for Economic Empowerment is calling on Nembayans to remain peaceful in the conduct of Tuesday's senatorial by-election. James Brooks, in an interview with this station on Monday, cautioned voters in Nemba not to allow the by-election divide them, stating that the peace of Nemba County and the country at large should remain a top priority. Brooks called on Nembayans to accept the outcome of the April 22 senatorial by-election in good faith and refrain from violence or things that could cause chaos.
The by-election in Nemba County, we have
expresses confidence in the election that will be going on, calling upon all the parties who participate in this bad election to put Liberia first and Liberia last. We need peace. Everybody that going to the election, we need peace. We need reconciliation. We will replace the new Senator Prince Gordon Johnson for men to be able to accept the result. Because look, we can have a form of conflict according to the mind, the peace of the nation, because the mountains, the mind, no and you will when onto the election, will be your first, your last.
The chairman emeritus of the Movement for Economic Empowerment, James Brooks, there speaking. The Liberia Intellectual Property Office, or in collaboration with the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, is expected to hold a one-day high-level intellectual property conference in Monrovia beginning this Wednesday. LIPO Director General Gamen Koboy disclosed that the conference is part of activities marking the observance of World Intellectual Property Day scheduled for April 26. Speaking during a media engagement in Monrovia on Monday, Madam Koboy added that this high-level conference will be held under the theme, The Role of Intellectual Property in the Creative Sector in Achieving the Arrest Agenda.
In collaboration with the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, we hold a one-day policy-level intellectual property conference on the 20th of April as part of phase 2 activities in celebrating with the World IP Day scheduled for April 26, 2025. This high-level gathering here under the theme, The Role of Intellectual Property in the Creative Sector in Achieving the Arrest Agenda, honored Progress Chairman, will bring together key stakeholders, including policymakers, development partners, under one roof to discuss and position intellectual property as a key driver of social economic development. This conference is part of a deliberate national effort by the government of Liberia to strengthen the development of the country's intellectual property ecosystem.
She is the that's the Director General of the Liberia Intellectual Property Office, Gamen Koboy, there making disclosure of an upcoming one-day intellectual property conference to be held on Wednesday in Monrovia. Well, folks, this is how we love to go home on this presentation of News Decks. But before we go, these are the top stories we followed tonight. President Joseph Boakai departs the country to attend the 50th anniversary celebrations of ECOWAS in Accra, Ghana, as the Liberian president expresses profound sorrow over the death of Pope Francis on early Monday. Ahead of voting in Nimba County on Tuesday, the Liberian National Bar Association warns against acts of lawlessness and threatening to recommend sanctions against individuals who will instigate violence in the county. Liberia Drugs Enforcement Agency arrests man aged 35 with a consignment of marijuana valued over $295,000 United States dollars in Painesville. And on the home front, the Vatican announces the death of Pope Francis at age 88 as tributes pour in from world leaders. Many thanks to all of you for your listening role. Thanks to our reporters, correspondents, and all those who helped to make this edition of News Decks a success. Sorry, we could not bring you sports tonight on the news program. Nakita Roberts read for us the bulletin of news. Kopra Sanga Sara control and coordinated the sounds. Johnson Batoma also control the camera tonight on the news program. My name is Maka Davis. Thanks to our sponsors, Orange Liberia and EcoBank Liberia Limited. Good night.
Ria TV, True FM.
Say Ria TV, True FM.
On Ria TV.
Into Truth FM 96.1.
What's the meaning of the black barrel?
The black barrel is to tell Joseph Bakala, if you don't organize yourself in a respectful manner, we'll keep your plate.
You might say what you want to say, but for us,